pits called go.
You can't get bulls.
We got Michael Buffer.
If he bleeds, you can kill him, but you can't cut what you can't catch. The predator of the Insular Peninsula. He's half man, half Amazon. Blood type 500cc. He goes by many names, but the local tribes call him Ashvinyo. Born from an egg on a mountain top. He's short, Asian, and angry, but don't call him Yuki. His favorite movie quote, "Thou shalt not pass." From the mean streets of Sydney to the favelas of Rio, it's Micaldo. And in the red corner, his favorite film is Fast Times, his favorite song is Fast Love, and his favorite food, feijoada, a slow braised stew. His hands are registered as driver assists. His right foot is called heavy, and his left foot is called hard. You have to sub to hear the rest. But today, you're gonna hear his lum dip Portuguese. Cristiano! And finally, his idea of racing is to avoid drag, but then we saw the Brazilian Mardi Gras. His interests include cars, photos of cars, and women in cars. His favorite position is pole. His pronouns are there he fucking goes. Our host for this evening, Ronaldinho!
All right, follow that up. Welcome to the Recreate Play podcast. It's the Cooldown Room with a pit crew. Again, we have myself, Micaldo, Vinaldinho, Cristiano, and Ashvinho. We're recapping the Brazilian Grand Prix. Wow. That's all I'm going to start with. Wow. You guys take it over. What the fuck? Wow.
It was wild weekend. You know, like crazy conditions, what we love, changeable. Sprint and race completely different. Can hardly remember the sprint. Like, yeah, amazing, exciting, interesting. Lots to talk about.
It seems like a fever dream because so much happened. Yeah,
like with Max winning. Best win in Brazil since 2016. Like that was the drive of a champion.
Yeah, performance for the ages. It'll be looked back on whenever he retires. I reckon as one of not only his but the great drives. Like, yeah, it was brilliant. Like
just
masterclass.
All the pressure and all the talk of the last few weeks has been about his racecraft, criticism from all ends. You know, to pull out this performance when the championship was teetering on swinging back towards Lando when he needed it the most, and to put out such a dominant performance, he stamped his mark not only on the championship but on this sport. Like he put the smackdown on all of his so-called competitors and said, "This is my era." That's how definitive it was. It was so impressive and so strong.
Indeed, clinical, precise, everything measured. You can't do much better than that. That was, you could almost call it perfection.
Yeah. I think you said. I think the interesting thing that you said there, Ash, was measured. Like because I think he wasn't dive bombing. You know, like to get past guys. He spent a lot of laps behind Leclerc. You know, and he was patient. He was like he could see him struggling with his tires. You know, that call on the radio, "Oh, Charles, you're making lots of mistakes." And he was struggling on his tires, so he was just, "I'm just going to be patient. He's going to have to box first." He was so controlled and patient on his tires in that first stint. Yeah, but I think that's what really won the race, and that's not what you associate with Max Verstappen. It wasn't the all-out aggression, fastest car on the fastest. It was a really thought out, well managed race, with a lot of chaos going on around him, but he was the experienced guy that had it all to lose and could see it all unfolding around him and managed it really well. Like, I think it was a career defining race.
Agreed. I had the feeling that with his first lap and how he made up 70 places on the first 2 laps, especially passing Lewis straight up on the start of the second lap, maybe that eased up a lot of pressure because he was already he was already up there. He'd already got rid of the mess of the lower half. So,
They're really slow guys. Yeah.
So
guys that were really going to slow him down in traffic.
Yeah, exactly. And he made it way into the points, and then after that it was just kick off at his own time. That was the most impressive part about it. Just how every opportunity that was there, he maximized the situation. Like, where slower cars, hard to pass, just took his time, and the race came to him.
Yeah.
But it was like every instance that was there, a decision was to be made. He just maximized it.
He created his own luck as well. I know we're going to get to the comments, but he made his luck by staying out and preserving his tires, and that's when the safety car, served him well because he raced in such a strong first stint that everything fell into his hands. He presented a tremendous. Yeah, go on, Mike. You were going to say something?
Oh, I mean, in complete contrast to Lando, who was itching to box to overtake on the tires and wasn't preserving his tires. Like, there was the diametrically opposed. One guy wanting to pit and one guy staying out and just preserving the tires.
Yeah, that was inexperience and a bit of panic. That was a bit of panic from Lando and McLaren. They should have said nah. They should have known that the staying out and getting track position and some clear air was heaps more powerful, and they should have told him nah, okay, you're not passing right now, but that's okay. Like, we're in a McLaren, we've got the superior car. Yeah. We can wait, but they were all impatient. They were nervous. They were worried they weren't making up the position, so they went for the undercut, which was never going to work. Like, it was never going to work. It was a really dumb. That sealed Lando's race. I think that was a really dumb move. They should have stayed out and gone long. Like, they're in a fast car. Like, look at the sprint. Like, they're dominated. Like, they should have known that they can do this, and they're good on their tires. They've been good on their tires all season. So if they were patient and not panicked, I think they could have. And also, if George Russell hadn't gone past Lando in the first corner, if Lando had clear out at the start, it would have been a really different race as well. So there's lots to talk about.
Yeah. So what else do we have to think about Max's performance? Anything else to add?
I mean, those fastest laps, if we can bring those up, they were just stamping the authority. Every time there was a fastest lap, it was just another stamp of authority.
17.
Just kept on hammering it in.
Pimp slap, that fastest lap stamp. That was
couldn't be slowed down by Lambiase. Lambiase tried to slow him down. He just kept on going.
Yeah. I think that turned it into probably the best. And it's a bit hard because we don't have the stats. Like, they don't have the fastest lap stats every lap from, history, but possibly, the greatest driver of all time,
Wow.
And I think that's the other point, I think.
Big call.
Sorry, go ahead, Ash.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you, but you got to go through. I wasn't around. I didn't see that one live, but Senna at Donington, or that one way back in the 80s where he was just waiting everyone.
Let's save that for a whole other podcast.
In the current era.
I'm putting it in that bracket. I'm just putting it in that bracket.
Definitely.
When you talk about the great performances, it ticks a lot of the boxes. A lot of the great performances, for some reason, almost always involve the rain.
Yes.
This one involves that. It involves a championship at stake, and it involves a clutch performance from 17th to 1st.
Man, 17th to 1st is one thing, but 17th to 1st and winning by 20 plus seconds.
Yeah, man.
When you consider the Red Bull has been not within 20 seconds of first since the summer break.
Yeah.
It just shows, they say rain's a leveler, and mate, the man among boys stands up, man. It just shows you what it's all about.
Yeah.
those fastest
Perez in the
laps,
same
yeah.
car. Where was Perez in the same car?
Exactly. He
I don't know if
just
Perez was even in the
destroyed
race.
them
I didn't
all.
see
He
Perez
was
apart
like,
from when
"You're
he
all
spun.
jokers. You're all
He spun,
jokers. You're all
he spun on the
pretenders."
first lap.
Well, I'm
He
sure
was out.
we'll talk about a lot more to go with Max, but let's get to his comments to the media in the pen afterwards. Where is the British media? They seem to have, lost their way to the press conference. They can't, they've gone to the airport. What do we think of this? This was his little flourish on top, I think, the little signature to end the performance.
If I can preface that beforehand, remember his statement after the race. It was simply lovely. After Lando tried to appropriate his comment,
This is
it was simply
my
lovely.
signature comment.
It was my signature comment and my signature race. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think he's absolutely. I think it's fair enough. I think the English media dominates media because it's a dominant language, but the English media favors the English drivers who are not necessarily just English speaking, but they come from England. So
who support English drivers?
You look at Max speaking to the Dutch media; they're heaps biased, but they don't pretend they're not biased. They're like Max, Max, Max. Like, you're the best. Like, we're all about Max because you're Dutch. They don't pretend. You know what I mean? And you see him.
Yeah.
Like his interview with them after the race when Lando was saying, like they were saying, do you think you should need to change your driving style because you're too aggressive? And his answer was 3 world champions. Like 3 world champions. I don't need to change anything.
Hold up those
until
fingers.
Someone else with 3 world champions has got something to say. Man, I'm not interested in what they have to say.
Hey, Yuki holded up the 3 for qualifying third. Yuki was pretty good with the 3.
What do we think of his comments, Mike? Ash?
Mike?
And the British media?
I agree.
I mean, Max is always outspoken, and that's the way that he is. And I can understand why he takes that position because it's in his nature to be a bit combative and to stir it up. But I don't think he's doing maliciously. I just think he just sees it how it is that people like to gang up on him, and sometimes with good reason, I guess. But this was his moment to say, "Look, this is also what I do."
Yeah, Ash.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree. Max has got a point where there's a bias because Sky is the world feed, and you sort of expect them to be impartial, but they're clearly not. Like Crofty, you can sense it all the time. He's gonna blow up the British guys, and it's easy pickings, man. It's easy pickings to pick on Max. They do it. They've done it throughout history, so it's no big deal. But I think when you have Adrian Newey pointing it out as well, that Sky is a nationalistic channel, then you've got to sort of take it in hand. Granted that Newey is with Red Bull, but yeah, for me, it's a clear bias, and I like that. I think Max is, like Mike said, Lionel said, says it how it is, and I think that's the appeal of Max. There's no filter, no BS, just straight down the line.
Both things can be true. The British media is biased, and Max has a thin skin. And to quote Thomas Sowell, the economist, because that's my thing. When you're used to special treatment, equal treatment can seem oppressive. And I think Max comes from a culture where he is a god. He's applauded every weekend. Everywhere he goes, it's orange. And suddenly, here are these people who don't appreciate his genius, right? And this feels shit.
Yeah.
And I think, he's got a point, but at the same time, he can be a bit thin-skinned. But I think, he won the day at this. He gets the last word. So here we are.
I mean, I think long live free speech. I think all media is biased. I think all media is biased. Anyone who speaks is biased. They all have their own opinion and their own angle. And let it rain. Let them argue. Like, let Sky say what they think. Let Max says what he thinks. Like, yeah, that's what we like to talk about. Lando.
His championship seems to slip away. What do we think, guys? Ash, let's kick it off with you. How you think let's talk about his day first of all, his weekend and so on. Yeah,
it was all over the shop. Vinyl touched on it before. The contrast between Lando's race and Max's race. Lando was making mistakes, not left, right, and center, but he was making him at crucial points in the race, and Total contrast to Max, no mistakes, zero. You couldn't really pick any errors in Max's race, but Lando seems to get. And to touch on what Chris said before, with McLaren being indecisive, this was really also on top of that team experience, and it's really shown. Red Bull were like cool, calm, and collected at the very beginning, at the very start of the race as well, with the early getaway from the McLaren guys and most of the grid, whereas Max followed the rules and stayed on.
And they called it, he called it straight away. Well, typically they're all breaking the rules. Everyone's breaking the rules all over the place. Well, just be patient, mates. Yeah.
Team experience. Red Bull fighting for the championship was also another thing that I think added to it and was hindered Lando for his race as well.
Yeah,
especially.
And I think they were lucky to get away with a fine for that, man. Like they were really lucky. That's a clear breach. Like that's black and white breach. Like the lights are red, the lights not green, and you take off. Like to get away with a fine, that just caused chaos. Yeah, that caused chaos on the grid, and he's out of grid. They were really lucky. They all should have got done for that.
Let's see for Mike. Mike, what do you think of Lando's
week? It could have also
week?
been quite dangerous. Like, just think if the circuit was blocked with, could have been recovery vehicles or ambulance, something like that. Like, they're not meant to be on the circuit going and doing a formation lap. Like, they're just not meant to be there. So, I was really surprised that there wasn't some kind of in-race kind of maybe penalty, but I guess because the infraction was so widespread across so many teams, I guess they decided that it was more appropriate for a fine. But
it was just more appropriate to make some money. We can make a lot of money this way. We can get there's at least 10 cars.
Yeah, but imagine if it was just one driver who was a rookie who did it, they'd be like, oh, well, we've got to make an example of this guy.
Exactly.
So-called experienced drivers and teams that did it, they reined themselves in a little bit.
And that's a big problem with the FIA, and that's why politics and it's also why we love F1 because it's so interesting because there's lots to talk about. But I think in most sports the rules are pretty clearly defined, and the guys that play the sport, don't get to make the rules. They're made by the guys above that. But that's another conversation.
Let's keep it on Lando and his championship. So he came into this weekend 44 points behind. He needed a big win at least, or at least a gain through the sprint, which he achieved. And then, gets to the race. Now he's 67 points behind. Will he rue this weekend, or was this, what do we think of his championship aspirations now?
I don't think he'd be that disappointed because I think the performance of Max was so dominant. Like maybe he could have scraped a few more points, but in the end, I think Max was so emphatic that it slipped away from him clearly, but I don't think he could be angry about his weekend. I don't,
because I was going to touch on that actually, Lando's attitude and his mental sort of, handling of this. It seems to be, this is a side of Lando that we've sort of seen a little bit before, where he can get a bit, upset and a bit snarky, a bit shirty. Is that how you say it politely?
A bit shirty.
Down the dumps.
I mean, he said, okay, his comments were, this is what I was trying to imply. It's luck, not talent. It could have been anyone. Talking about Max's performance. So, Lando has said this before. Yeah, and Lando has sort of said this before about Lewis saying, he should win every race. He's got the best car. But Lando doesn't seem to notice that it cuts both ways. Now he has the best car, and he should win every week. And
he's got pole positions.
And he's got pole position. Exactly. And how come the luck and talent isn't swinging his way when he has the best car? So he's holding these other drivers when they win to this standard and making these excuses for them. But when it's not turning out his way, this is coming out.
It's great point, Mike. I think it's a great point.
And
I think his weekend was ruined by the start of the sprint when Piastri took pole. Like Lando was dominating all weekend, all quali for the sprint, and then that last lap when Piastri snuck pole out of nowhere, Piastri was like 3 or 4 tenths off,
right?
And he snuck pole. I think it just
snapped
dented his confidence, and then conditions changed, and like Ash said, he made mistakes. Locking up into turn one, like getting past into the first corner, like he's been past a lot of times before. He didn't have a good race. He didn't move when he was behind someone like Max was. He didn't. He wasn't able to overtake. So yeah, it was a
From
pretty
first to sixth.
dismal weekend.
Mike, so he went from first to sixth. Is the crowning premature of Lando? Is he not championship ready yet?
I think it's a combination of himself and team as well. Like Peter Windsor makes quite a strong point in most of his videos, is that if you're geared towards one driver towards the championship and you're all shooting for the same thing, like essentially Red Bull is with Max, there's sort of this indomitable kind of force. And with McLaren, they're too nice. It's too nice.
Piastri's too quick. They knew he was going to be quick, but they didn't think he was going to be that quick. And now they're like, fuck, he's quicker than Lando at some circuits. Now we're fucked.
Yeah, we've
I'm sure they really want to sign Piastri, and there's stuff in his contract that says you're not just going to be a number two.
Yeah.
So I reckon they're really surprised by Piastri's pace, and they're like, oh, fuck, well, I don't know. Hopefully one of them's much quicker than the other, but it's not happening. They're both quick.
They've got two alphas.
And they're stuck. They're sharing the points. Yeah. So they're going to have to work it out. I reckon next year.
He's got the ultimate I'm not a number two driver manager, Mark Webber. So,
exactly. And Webber knows exactly.
Contract.
Exactly.
He's not bending over for nothing, man. Like he's just, he's not going to play that well.
And look at the sprint. Let
Ash finish. Let Ash finish, Chris. Let Ash go.
Well, with Lando, just how you're saying, the championship deficit has now increased. I reckon not to go against Vinyl, but I reckon it's a huge cyclo, man. It's got to be devastating. It's now so far out of reach. Whereas before, if he'd managed to reduce the deficit, it would have been it's a totally different. It would be so.
Oh right.
Got Red Bull. Now it's the opposite. Released and
he had to have gone to bed on Saturday night in pole thinking, I've got this. You know what I mean? I win tomorrow.
Yeah.
I close it by another 10, 20, who knows? Max is in 17th. I got this guy. There's no way he's going to finish in the points. That's another 25. I'm 19 going into Vegas. That's a sweet position to be in.
Exactly.
He didn't wake up that way on Sunday morning. Monday morning, sorry. Yeah, man. Oh, boy.
And
yeah.
I was just going to say, like criticizing Lando saying that Max was lucky, like that's the only way he can. That's the only way he can
rationalize it.
You know what I mean? Rationalize it. Like personally, I'm not saying for the media.
Oh, you have
from
to.
A personal point of view, like he came here. I was on pole. He was in 17th. Like
otherwise, he's just so much better than me
in the race. But like, you know what I mean? That's the only possible excuse. Like, it wasn't the team didn't screw him over. You know, there was no.
I do a lot of this self-rationalizing in my own personal life. It helps.
Yeah, that's right. The cognitive dissonance, Mike. We can't deal with the cognitive dissonance.
It helps me deal with a lot of the things in my life, such as the rain. Okay, so a lot of other drivers rose to the top in the rain. Let's talk about the other star performance of the weekend. Let's go through them one by one, I guess. George, I've got here. What do we think of George's performance?
Yeah, really good. Solid. I don't think it was fantastic or eyebrow raising. I thought he was really solid. Yeah, really good quality.
Second in quali, and fourth in the race.
Really great quality. But yeah, I didn't think his race was spectacular.
But guys, do you think he's driving through the car's deficiencies that Lewis can't? Like, is it a praiseworthy performance because Lewis was driving a surfboard and George could make the surfboard work?
Good point.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call. I think also because George, because he put the quali lap together, which is no small feat, but in the race, I think because of the track and the resurfacing, it was super hard to overtake. Like only Max could do it pretty much on track.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it made it really hard for Lewis and George, other than the start, and he had an awesome start, perfect start, like ace Lando at the start. Other than that, didn't overtake anyone. Didn't look like he was going to overtake anyone. So I think he had a good race. It was really solid, but I think his
And
great
yeah,
was done before the race.
how about Louis?
Race to
Louis,
forget.
Louis, the fashion designer, most marketable athlete, 2024. What do we think of Lewis?
His highlight was
Becoming
starting
much less
Hamilton.
marketable.
I mean, he had said before the race, "I hope it rains. These are my conditions." He was saying all the things to to wish upon the rain gods to come, and it came, and he didn't perform. I was really surprised. I thought these circumstances would have favored him in the past. This was set up to be his weekend almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's running out of excuses. I don't know.
He's running
He's
out of
running
excuses. Yeah, Mike.
I mean, the rain favors a drivable car. I presume that's why the Alpines were so competitive. And I don't know if the Mercedes on such a knife edge, and you need the reflexes of a young George Russell to keep, dancing on that razor blade, then
Good point.
and Lewis just hasn't got that last bit of reaction from his age and so forth, and you can't just pull back with experience.
Say it ain't so, buddy.
That hurts. It hurts to
That's
say
It's
it.
gonna hurt a lot of people with that.
But I think
Ages.
he's right.
It's true
I think
though.
he's right.
It's true.
Do you really? Does anyone think he's going to beat Charles next year?
No, look at the qualifying performance with George versus Hamilton. When it
No.
comes to holding the car on the
Like-
edge in qualifying, it's not there anymore.
I think whoever said get Lewis signed at Ferrari should be shot. You just put Ferrari back like 5 years,
John
Well, they put the
Elkin.
share
and
price
they'd
up
be
100
moving
points.
forward. And I'm sure it wasn't Vasseur.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't Vasseur. He's not that dumb, man. He
They're going to
knows
sell a
what
lot of
he's doing.
shirts. You're saying, Ash?
The Johnny Elkin. That's his Lewis coming to Ferrari. Is his
Yeah.
big push.
Yeah.
It's a board decision because their share price, as soon as they announced it, the share price rose as well. So
Yeah.
We'll talk
It's
about
what it
the
is.
driver lineups for 2025 later. Let's kick back to Alpine, guys. They had a great
That was emotional.
performance. I mean, she's
Yeah.
double podium, 2 and 3.
We
Ocon and Mr. Threesome, Pierre Gasly. I had to get that in there somewhere. You know the French. It's just culture. So so they kicked ass. I mean, 2 and 3. This was a tremendous weekend for them. Let's kick it off. Who wants to make first point?
I felt
Okay.
amazing for them, honestly. Like, I saw their social media post afterwards, and Ocon was reminiscing about how it was him and Gasly back when they were young at the kart track alone in the freezing cold with no one else around them.
Where's this story going? Okay, yeah. I'm still thinking about the threesome. Sorry,
For
go
sure
on.
drive.
Sorry, Mike, but they were practicing
Menage
driving
et trois.
in the cold, wet conditions, and they were there as youngsters, like perfecting their craft. And then many years later, that hard work and graft from a young age has paid off in Brazil, coming back in the rainy, slippery conditions that they now relish, and doing it, putting their differences aside. We'll forget about Monaco and putting it together for the team.
Yeah, it was a good, happy story, wasn't it? To see these old friends come together.
Nice
No,
touch
I
by
couldn't.
Ocon.
Sorry, Ash, go ahead.
No, it was a nice touch by Ocon. He's a monster on the track, but he's a very nice guy off the track. So yeah, consider
Right.
history.
He's really
That's a
likable
really-
off the track,
Yeah.
but he brings it out of people, man. He brings it out of people. He brings the slap out of a lot of people.
Yeah, well, Alpine, like if Ocon had won that race, it would have been spectacular. But
Bruh,
Max
yeah.
was too strong. But he controlled the race when he was in front. It wasn't like he was making mistakes of any sort. So it was just all around good story for Alpine. Pole vaulting to 6th, and yeah, amazing.
Yes,
Huge
tremendous.
quality points. Huge.
World record pole vault, that one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Chris?
both really good drivers. You know, I think they're both really good drivers. I think I rate Gasly a lot higher than Ocon.
Yeah.
Like Ocon I think Ocon's really quick, but he gets the red mist and doesn't make good decisions. But yeah, I was really pleased, and I thought
That's fair.
actually the podium was the most joyous podium I'd seen in a long time. Like, you know what I mean? There was no, it's always joyous and there was always smiling, but there's always that underneath the niggle, when there's the championships going on, you know what I mean? When there's on-track battle. They were all so just happy to be there. It was really good. Like, I was smiling ear to ear. watching
They
the podium.
have
They were
had
just
a tough season,
happy.
you know, and they hadn't had made much of an impression all season. And then to have this result, you know, they haven't had any storylines at all. We haven't talked about them. And to have this result, yeah, it really was a feel-good story, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was nice. Yeah, I was pleased.
Yeah.
I like them both. Good drivers. Shitty team, shitty management, but good drivers. Yeah.
Well, the
Speaking-
management's changed.
It's changed, but well, I
Really
don't think.
back.
Yeah, true.
Fabio.
Yeah. Well, I'm not happy to see Flavio back. I think he should have been, his lifelong ban should have been imposed and kept. But, you know,
Yeah.
anyway,
F1
Flavio's
now.
back. But I'm sure
Flavio's
Flavio
back.
had nothing to do with it.
And
I don't think
back.
Flavio had anything to do with the win.
He'll claim it.
I'm sure he'll claim it. That's
Trajectory's
why
going
I'm
up with
not happy
Flavio.
he's back. Like, he's that guy. But anyway.
Anything to add, Mike?
No. It's good. I see that we're moving on to. Do you want to move on to RB, Mike?
Let's move on to RB.
Let's move on to RB and their decision to go full wets. Like, wow,
Yeah.
full wets on both cars when the rain started coming down. They were
Was it
just
both
hoping
cars?
that safety car wasn't coming back. They just thought, oh man, we'll just drive through the deep puddles of Interlagos and drive into the lake and through the lake, whatever they're driving through the twin lakes of Interlagos into victory. But then they pulled out the safety car.
Yeah.
They were shocked.
That heavy rain during the middle of the race, that was the when. I'm failing the words, but that really put the number on a lot of teams. You know, they made
Wild
wrong
card
decisions.
sort of thing.
But at the same time, it was so bad that even Max was complaining about it. You saw
I
him in-
can't believe they didn't red
Go on,
flag
Mike.
it. I was like, you can't see shit. This is like Spa in like, you know,
Yeah.
90 whatever. Like, this is like ridiculous. And
But
I'm
the
happy
worst
they're
conditions,
not red
only
flagging
three
it. I'm glad they
drivers put on
didn't.
full wets.
But
Perez,
I feel,
Perez,
yeah,
yeah.
Yuki.
I feel like the
and
teams
Lawson.
need to know what the standard is. You know what I mean? Like, how bad the I don't know. I feel like the teams are like, well, this is always red flag every other race, but
Let's come back to the
obviously
tires
they've
in the
changed
rain.
their mind.
Let's hold to this topic and talk about Yuki and Liam. And we'll come back to the tires later because that's a whole big thing, right? I can feel us veering that way. So Yuki 7th, Lawson 9th. I mean, Yuki had a solid weekend. They both qualified really well, you know, 3rd and 5th. They were impressive all through quali. Like, we watched the quali together, and Yuki was lighting up the timesheets in quali. I haven't seen him that impressive. I think it was his best quali
Yeah.
performance, right? Yeah, his best performance ever, quali. So,
Best from a Japanese driver since Kobayashi, was it Kamui in Spa
really?
or something like that? Something crazy, like 10 years ago.
yeah, and his best performance
in
before
Korea.
that was
Korea, something
6th.
like
So,
Impressive.
you know, that Red Bull seat for next year certainly hasn't been signed yet, set yet, right? So, for Liam, that is. So, you know, Yuki's hanging on.
Yeah.
He's hanging
Liam
on.
had the blowtorch on him for the last third of the race.
Yeah.
He was under
Absolutely.
some serious pressure.
Yeah. He had a really good race too. I mean, he made a double pass on Hamilton, who, I mean, Hamilton like went wide and made a mistake, but he double passed Hamilton and Alonso like in
Wow.
one corner.
That's the dream overtake.
He's not mucking around. Like he's
No.
here to race and he's here to pass people and,
And
he's here
as
to win.
We discussed off air. He didn't open the door for Sergio, but he
Yeah.
politely let through Max.
Yeah.
He knows how to play the game, our guy. Like, you know, he definitely knows who's signing the checks and who to counter.
Well, he knows who he's racing. He knows
He's
who he's
smart,
racing.
right? That shows an amazing awareness that he's not.
Yeah.
He didn't have it around the other wrong way.
Yeah.
And
It's not like Ocon or something, or you know, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
And a fast
he's a
learner.
fast learner. Like,
yeah.
I know that, like, what I was amazed about, I suppose, with Max's performance, so just to bring it back to that, is that, like, everyone else is sort of digging out towards the end of the race. Everyone else is sort of trying to get the tires to hold on, getting, you know, overheating, getting slower, and just Max was banging in the laps. Like, I was hoping Lawson would hold on, but his lap times were just fading compared to Yuki, lack of experience, and Max just kept on getting faster. Sorry to bring it back to
No, it's a perfect point.
No,
Yeah,
good point.
Stroll. We have a video to share, boys. We have a video to share. There's sound. Okay, so here we go. Just bear with me.
I
Yes,
have. like they all knew, all the fans knew what was going to happen, and this retard like didn't know that you can't drive through wet
Don't say
gravel.
that. You're gonna get cancelled.
It's done now.
care.
It's done now.
I don't
Say it.
care. Like,
Say
we'll see.
It's Lance Stroll. He earned it.
It was the saddest video of the weekend, especially the onboard. The onboard of him trying to maneuver his vehicle back towards the tarmac, but electing to take the interesting path through the gravel, which everyone knew but him was going to be a death trap of quicksand. And the radio transmission, you'd expect the guy is going to be annoyed, distraught, angry. He was just resigned.
I think he was
like,
stunned.
"Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
somewhere.
I
What,
beached
like his
it."
own stupidity? What the fuck?
I mean,
Okay, Lance.
if he had the bandwidth for that,
P0 Lance, engine off. P0 engine off.
yeah.
A real racing driver would be angry. He'd be distraught. He would be beside himself
Yeah.
of this terrible consequence of what his actions. But Lance had none of those reactions. I was honestly amazed.
He's at his Tommy Boy
It's like
phase.
he
Do you remember
checked
that?
out.
Do you remember that '90s movie Tommy Boy with Chris Farley? It was about this guy who's like Thomas Barnsworth the third, right? And his dad's this great fucking industry conglomerate, and he inherits this business, and it's a new comedy starring Adam Sandler and Chris Farley. That's Stroll now. He's at his Adam Sandler comedy peak phase, you know, to be played by Adam Sandler. This dumbass who will one day inherit $1 billion empire, you know. His father is an F1 team owner. He wants to be a driver. Comedy ensues. This guy, it's next level stuff now. It's.
I don't know how the team are meant to approach him. Like, how do you? Are you meant to be motivating?
As they always
how do you
have,
treat someone like that without being condescending every time you talk to them? Like, okay, you did a good job. Try harder. You know, single-handed clap. I don't know. Like, it must be very difficult to try and have interactions if you're part of the team.
This is after a weekend where he already red flagged. A lot of people did red flag or safety car during quali, but he'd had a horrendous weekend to begin with, and then to mess it up on the starting formation lap. Oh my god.
Yeah, I just feel like this conversation is not about Lance Stroll. Like, we all know what Lance Stroll's going to give us.
Yeah.
This conversation is about Mr. Stroll Senior. Like, it's it's his decision to make. We all know it's his decision to make. It's going to have to come eventually if he's serious. So, like, yeah, I don't know. What can you say? Where's for
only fathers? Only fathers would know.
I just want to know where Dragovic would have finished if he was in that car. That's what I want to know.
Dragovic is a real talent, F2 champion. He's been sitting on the sidelines for 2 years, and now his seat has been, his opportunities have been lapped by other rookies next year while he's going to be on the bench. And meanwhile, we've seen this phasing out of a lot of drivers that perhaps aren't as worthy, like this, Mazepins and so on, these pay drivers. Stroll is the last remnant of that era, I believe. The last.
Why don't we
driver.
just go balls out? We'll go balls out and go
Lawrence.
Daddy Stroll. What's his name?
Yeah, Lawrence.
Hey, Lawrence, let's go all in and make a junior RB style team for Aston Martin, so we can nurture some talent that can't take Lance's seat for the big team.
Yeah.
That's
a good idea.
A special seat for Lance.
That's exactly right.
That's right. So you can don't lose face, but at least we can have some competitiveness.
I mean, next year, the arrival of Newey, that's a frightening prospect. He could have a championship contending car next year. Well, Fernando will, but he'll be, he'll be in a position of power. The team will be in a position to maybe compete, yet they won't have the driver. This is, it's all fun and games until...
Well, it's all fun and games now.
Exactly.
But I'm sure Lawrence is no fool. He knows.
Guys, can we just parallel this context with what the hell's Perez still doing there? We're talking about championship winning car.
Yeah.
I mean, Perez has cost them. Yeah, that seat has cost them. A few mil in the constructors' championship, right? Yeah. And
Yeah, maybe.
I'll be surprised if he hangs on to it next year.
They've just backed themselves into a corner. They know if we put a rookie in there, Max is going to destroy them, and then we're going to look like idiots. We put the experienced guy in there. He's going to be okay sometimes, but 80% of the time he's going to be rubbish. Like Max is going to destroy anybody. Like, and
it's a career killer. That suit.
It's kind of like you look at Red Bull and you look at McLaren, like they're different philosophies of the one man, like, you know what I mean? When you've got Red Bull have got one guy that can win the championship and
Chris.
And the constructors by himself, and McLaren are like, well, we don't know. They're both really good. Well, let's just back them both. And this is what you end
Chris,
up
so
with.
on that point, who's more likely to get destroyed, Yuki or Lawson, mentally? Because I'd say Yuki would get more likely okay, maybe he's a more experienced driver, but I think
fragile.
you get more destroyed by Max than Lawson will.
Oh, Yuki's got
It
a
doesn't
temper.
matter who. I don't think the mental thing is that important. It's who's quicker. And I think Lawson's quicker. Like, that's the most important thing. I think Lawson's the better driver. So I think Lawson would go better. And I also think his mentality is that, you know, I'm a New Zealander. You know what I mean? Like, I've come from nowhere. Like, I don't, you know, all I got to do is be quick. If I'm in a Red Bull, I've already won. So I've got nothing to lose.
Let's hold on to that topic. Let's hold on to that topic. Are we done with Lance? Are we done with Lance? Are we done picking on Lance?
With his mistake, I was thinking, looking at the starting of the grid, Alonso was a bit slow. So I'd like to give Lance a bit of help. Maybe he had like really cold tires.
The car was trash, for sure. But I would just
say the decision afterwards was wrong.
Go.
Driving into the gravel was like, that's just mind-boggling. I'd love to be in Lawrence Stroll's head to just work out like what went through his mind watching that. Because watching it live when he went off, I was like, okay, yeah, cool. And then they cut to him and he's in the gravel. I was like, how'd this happen? And then even funnier, after the race when Karen Chandok was doing his breakdown, he showed the first incident with Lance going off and he heavily skipped past the gravel, dropping into the gravel bit. He was like
saved his blushes.
Maybe a friend to Lawrence Stroll as well.
Wow.
Saving him further embarrassment. That was really funny to see.
Yeah. In a career riddled with embarrassing moments, this is a highlight for sure. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the low light. Yeah. I think that's about it for the race. Let's talk about roster moves for next year, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first news to come out this week, Bortoleto to Audi Sauber 2025. Signed, sealed, Bottas out. Who is this guy?
He's quick.
He's quick. He's leading F2.
Yeah.
Yeah, he must be a once-in-a-generation talent like Max.
He must be fast.
Yeah, he's just straight up. He hasn't won it yet, but he's about to, maybe.
Yeah, but Bottas out, I guess. Let's touch on Bottas because we know more about him, I guess, than the unknown Bortoleto. But Bottas, that looks like he's without a seat for the near distant future.
He might be reserve driver for Mercedes.
Oh, yeah, that's the latest rumor.
Right. Okay.
Bottas to, I don't think so, but I think it's certainly been rumored.
That's an okay landing spot.
Yeah, I'd rather he go mountain biking in Tasmania. To be honest, like I think he should just go live his best life. I think his best races are behind him. So
does Stoffel still hang out in the Mercedes garage, hoping he's going to get a drive? You know, when someone gets nicked, or is that finished now? We put Stoffel out of his misery.
Yeah, what about Mick Schumacher? Put him out of his misery.
Somewhere by the simulator rig.
I think Mick's been retired. Like I think the curse of the name is finally maybe like I don't know. I think Mick's done.
Okay.
Now, I don't know.
So it looks like the 2025 rookies and rosters are set. So has anyone got the rosters in front of them?
Yeah, I think I know who's driving for who.
Okay, you wanna go through them? Let's talk about those just before we.
Well, let's go through the big teams. I mean, let's start. Let's
Kimi?
go with
Antonelli.
Kimi.
Yeah, I mean, Kimi and George. That's going to be really interesting. I don't know. Who do you think?
He's got the hardest job out of all the rookies, man. He slots into a top 10.
That's a tough job. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got an easy way in.
He's got the hardest job, but the best job.
Yeah, I mean, they're telling him he's got
the best
time.
job.
They're telling him he's got time, but in his head, he's just going to want to destroy George in qualifying. Obviously the race is one other thing, is learn the tires and so forth. But he did in Monza, he's out to prove his speed.
Yeah,
and George is a very good benchmark for that speed. And if he can get into George's head early about George is no longer the fastest, and this guy's only going to get more consistent.
Ooh, I'd love to see that.
Trying to just
I'm excited to see it, man. I'm excited to see George crack a little bit.
Oh, George. I reckon he's going to crush him.
You reckon, Kimmy?
Yeah, I reckon he's going to, exactly like Mike said, I reckon he's going to be faster. I don't think he's going to be the better Grand Prix driver from the outset.
Yeah.
But I think his speed is going to mentally crush George, and George is going to crumble.
He definitely has something.
Albon and George can have a little session together. It's the established driver, and I was super quick, and then this new guy came along, and my stock has dropped slightly.
Yeah.
George has been waiting for so long to be the number one driver at Merck, and for this guy to come in, I reckon he's going to come in a bit quicker, and I reckon it's going to rock George's world, and it's going to ruin him.
He'll be like, so this is what it feels like. Damn it. Max and Sergio. Well, we don't know who's going to hold on to that second seat. I mean, who's the most likely? Let's assume Sergio's out. Okay, who's our pick to replace Sergio?
Lawson.
Lawson.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lawson versus Max. Any other contenders?
Sainz. Mentioned last time. Sainz.
Yeah, I'd like Sainz actually. I'm happy to see Sainz go there. He's a veteran who deserves it. I don't know if Liam's quite earned it for my.
After what was said before about him, Max destroying even experienced drivers, you sort of think maybe not, but either way.
I feel like Carlos is the kind of guy that is getting better and better. You know what I mean? I don't think that's always the arc for F1 drivers. Sometimes they're, and it all depends on your car. We know that, but I think Carlos is becoming a better F1 driver with every race. It's just sort of the way he works, and I think Williams did really well to get Carlos down far out. He's going to get them heaps of points and help them develop and get them heaps. He's going to move him way up the grid. I reckon. I hope so. Anyway, I really like Carlos. I think he's a really smooth operator.
Yeah, I think that also that he's got the temperament where he would be okay to be slower on the day than Max. It's not like he was Ricardo who's just pull his hair out and he can't handle this. I think he knows he's got his days where he can be faster, and he knows the days he's slower, he can get points. I don't think it's this mental, cognitive dissonance of disconnect that I'm not the fastest driver, I'm going to explode.
Yeah, I think he's handled that. He's handled that with work. Yeah, even when he hasn't been the fastest on a particular weekend, he's been consistent and he's been able to recover, stay steady. And consistent, that's a good point, Mike. So let's look at. I
was going to say, having said that, it was disappointing to see him crash out during Brazil.
Yeah, he had a horrible weekend.
Good weekend.
So who are the other rookies? 2025. Let's say they're saying it's the season of the rookies. We didn't have a rookie other than Oliver Bearman at Haas.
He did all right during the race. I thought he was a bit scrappy, but I thought he was did all right. Didn't do badly. It wasn't a Lance Stroll, that's for sure. So
I don't know, man. He was just trying to drive too fast. He was for him, he should have been I'm going to finish the race. That should have been his goal.
He'll be up against Ocon next year.
True.
What do you reckon?
In a crazy race like that, he should have been looking to just finish the race and hopefully get points. But he was trying to go. He was trying to pass Carlos and crashed out.
So next year, guys.
Trying to impress too much.
Yeah, but I think he was a bit beyond his means.
True.
Okay, so next year he's up against Ocon. What do we got? Ocon versus Bearman.
Ocon.
Yeah.
Really?
But I think Bearman will
Bearman will show some good
push him.
Yeah.
He'll improve throughout the season. I think he's pretty measured. I think he'll have flashes of brilliance in maybe some circuits in qualifying because obviously he's young and he's there to prove how how fast he is. But I think that overall Ocon will have his measure.
Fair enough. Okay. The other rookie, our boy, Doohan versus Gasly.
Tough assignment,
Mike,
man.
why don't we open the
Yeah.
mic?
Yeah, I think it's a tough ask. I don't know, I don't know. I'm trying to remember when Jack last raced, and it probably was quite a while ago in F2. But my impression of him was that he was consistent and good, not outlandishly fast and good. So I suppose maybe he's going to be a bit of a slow burner. Like he hasn't had much experience in the car, hasn't had much experience in a race car for a while. So yeah, I can see himself easing into it, but yeah, I think it's going to be tough. I don't think he's going to be as slow as Jolly and Palmer, but yeah, I hope he can turn it up next year.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Ash, what do you reckon? Doohan?
Yeah, no, I agree. I like him. I like how he comes across in the media. I hope he does well. I agree with Vinyl. It's going to be a tough ask. Gasly's no slouch, so it'll be interesting to see his progression during the year.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Someone's at the door.
Duck attack.
I thought that was like, I thought that Mike was doing like a Jack Doohan impression. I was like, oh, just find the inner animal or something like that.
He's
I'll
a
have to
real
cut that out.
scrapper. Yeah, I think he's going to be good. I think a little bit like Carlos. It's going to be a bit of a slow burn. I think he's going to be. I think he's highly intelligent and ready to go. I don't know. I think I agree with the other guys when they said being out for a while could be a detriment. I think it's less of a detriment than it used to be with the quality of the sims and stuff. But yeah, I think he's really intelligent and he's fast enough. It's going to be super hard against Gasly, but if he has the opportunity, I think he'll get better as in year 2 and 3.
And he's got the support system of his dad, also obviously by his side. Like Carlos has got his dad, and yeah, he's got that sounding board of someone who's experienced at the top level of motorsport to be able to like get your head in the game and block out all of the other superfluous F1 rubbish that's in the background. You know.
Yeah.
Sure. And our other rookie, Lance Stroll. He'll be starting for Aston Martin next year. Just fucking with this. All right, let's go to what do we got here? Tire topic. So there was some controversy about the tires over the weekend. We thought we'd talk about this for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the wet tires, like if it's raining really heavily, then you know, shouldn't they put on the wet tires and go faster when it's raining really heavily? But it seems like the wet tires have a really small window when they're faster. And then other than that, it's a red flag. I think as the popularity of the sport grows, you know, people invest their time in it. They want to watch 2 hour, you know, they're going to invest 2 hours of their time. They expect it to be on and happening.
Yeah.
Not, well, it's raining too heavily. Well, but the wet tires are in the garage, you know,
Chuck
sitting
them on.
there.
What are they for?
What are they for?
Hamilton had that
So
point.
they got to work it out.
What do they do?
Yeah, Hamilton made that exact point. Apparently, like I'm not sure if it's official or reported, but he told Domenicali, like, let's get some tire warmers on these wet tires and let's be serious about this.
Yeah, he said it on camera. I think, like he said it, like, put some. We should be racing in this. We should be able to go. Let's do this. Yeah, Ash, did you have anything to add?
No, just I agree. Like, yeah, so like the cars as well. They got to raise the ride height to run in the wet. So I don't know if they want to do that. You know, if that's a factor to not running in heavy rain. You know, it compromises the car setup to get it to not aquaplane as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one. Bottoming out, being a surfboard instead of a heavy downforce. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having said that, like they're no
Really,
longer flat
man.
bottom. They've got the Venturi tunnels, so they're not.
Yeah, they're not flat bottom anymore. Right? Yeah, true. Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of Pirelli. I think it's better if we have a tire war. Tire war's better. Bring back Michelin. Best way for the tire.
Nah. I'm totally against that. That's another video.
That's another video. All right. Let's wrap up the week and the show. A few other things to touch on. Oh, let's go over our predictions, guys. Chris. Yeah, let's look at this. Let's bring up this old chestnut. Chris had Lando, Charles, Max.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, not too
Max
bad.
finished
Ash-
first, and
Ash
he
and
was on the
Vinyl.
podium.
Yep. Ash and Vinyl had
Where was
Lewis,
Lewis? How did Lewis go that race?
Lewis, Norris, Leclerc.
Yeah.
And I had Lando, Oscar, Lewis. So I think Chris might have made out best out of all of us. At least he had the winner on his podium. Let's give that weekend to Chris
Yeah.
in terms of the predictions.
Just happy to be here.
We didn't even get
Happy to be here.
anybody on the podium, I think.
Happy
Look,
to be here with you
I'm happy.
sentimental fools dreaming of a Lewis fucking victory, you idiots.
All right.
Hey, we had the sentimentality when he's driving around holding the flag. Brazilian
Yeah.
flag when he's driving the
It's
McLaren.
worth mentioning.
As
Lewis
he went around.
driving.
All right, we're getting to that. We're
MP5.
getting to that. Okay, so next week, it's Vegas. All right, Max.
Oh, is it
next week, I think it is.
Oh, next week.
So Max is in front.
My bad.
So where are we at in the championship? So, far out. I can't do the math.
It's over.
It's over. Max needs a miracle. I mean, Lando needs a miracle.
Max in front of Lando. It's done next week. Max points behind Lando. It's done next week.
Yeah.
So
he closes it
that's
out. Closes it out in Vegas.
That's how. That's
Viva
I hope so.
Las
I hope
Vegas.
so. I hope we can just shut out all the noise and get real. And
Yeah.
it's
That
a
is
bit
what the
annoying,
champion
really.
looks like.
Chris,
Well-
I didn't know you-
Well,
We should definitely do a watch along and maybe a stream for Vegas in a
Yeah.
couple of weeks.
yeah, I think we should do a watch along. It's doable.
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine.
Down under, it ain't easy, but it is easy.
It's one of
for
the
that
weekends
one.
we can actually do it. Yeah. So let's get to Senna and Hamilton. But before that, the Senna trailer. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, love to. Excited for any F1 content. Gonna watch it. Gonna watch all of it.
Yeah, we'll definitely do some
Skeptical.
kind of review of the show. I don't know about the format of it.
Yeah.
It looks kind of glossy. They're gonna make him out. I just hope they show the warts and all. You know what I mean? They get into all of it. They show the flaws of the man as well as the.
Oh, they won't. They won't. Yeah, I'm sure.
obviously.
yeah.
It'll be like, and this is when he discovered freaking helium.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's going to be very complimentary, and that's okay. I don't care, man. I love the guy. I don't care. I'm like, yeah, bring it on. I'm going to love it. I'm going to watch it and love it.
Yeah.
But,
How about you, Mike? You can't wait for the Senna Netflix show?
Yeah, like I'm not raring to go, but I'm curious. I'm curious to see it, what they've done. Like, obviously, the guy's got a huge legacy, and I'm sure that they will embellish a few places. But yeah, I'm keen to see what they come up with.
I can see a lot of flashbacks to him as his go-karting days and, the voiceover, remember the passion and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It'll be that
I
old
mean, the thing is,
style.
they only need to come up with one new piece of law or evidence, like one new thing, in the whole show, and it will add credibility to it, you know what I mean? Because his life's been so studied and, people have, followed him for so long.
Lore. I thought you meant LAW.
Yeah, like they
right.
only need to
Gotcha.
they only need to uncover like one new little thing, I think, for it to maybe create, be successful.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. I always find these cradle to grave biographies really difficult. I always prefer them when they just focus on a period in their
One
lives.
piece. Yeah,
Like the Zuckerberg one, like the Steve Jobs one, both written by Sorkin. It's really hard to encapsulate a lifetime into any kind of TV show, unless it's Lance Stroll's lifetime and the movie Tommy Boy. But on Senna, and Hamilton closed it out really well with a tribute to the great man.
Yeah.
That was pretty nice, didn't we think?
Yeah, I thought that was really moving. I actually thought it was really moving. Seeing him fire it up, like it was just
I was
hearing
touched.
it, it was great, and it was kind of great. I thought that it was in the wet, but it was a bit of a shame that it was so wet because he was going really slow. Like he was going really slow.
Yeah,
So you didn't really
had to be careful.
Yeah, but because it was so wet, it was ridiculous. He was acclimating on the straight, so you didn't really get the full power of it.
At points, he had no hands on the steering wheel, one hand with the flag and the other one waving to the crowd.
Golly.
Yeah. So yeah, good on him. Like, yeah, good on him. It was a great moment. I was quite moved. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
to see that car with the Brazilian flag flying and the quasi tribute helmet from Hamilton, like, yeah, like it was pretty
it's
special.
nice.
It
was
never
nice.
gets old. I know there's a lot of tributes to Senna almost every time we go to Brazil, but it never gets old for me. Yeah.
Not for me. It'll never get old. It'll always be too young.
You'll always
Like,
live on.
always.
Yeah. Definitely. Ash, anything else on Senna?
No, I haven't seen it. I can comment.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I've got to pony up to get Netflix to watch it, so yeah.
We'll split the account, dude. I got you.
I guess I eventually have to get Netflix to watch it, but yeah,
I'll introduce you.
Man, it's on YouTube.
I'll introduce you to this little thing called BitTorrent. I'll tell you off stream. All right, guys. I think we might end it there. This has been a Recreate Play podcast, the Cooldown Room with the pit crew. Ash Vigno, Vinaldinho, Cristiano, I'm Macaldo. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you in Vegas.
Thank you, everyone.
Hola.
Peace.